I mean, you guys weren't the first contemporary Christian band. I mean, you were definitely towards the beginning.
Right.
But I mean, this is the idea of doing a song about Jesus to a contemporary sound. I mean, was it a brainchild? We just let's do this, or did it just naturally flow out? Or
Well, we didn't. Prior to our writing, some of the songs were written before we were Christians, so it was completely something we just did out of our. Well, we were seekers at the time, and I wrote several of the songs that became love song tunes on the first album before I was a Christian. Welcome Back was written before I was a Christian. Feel the Love. There were like, a little bit of adjusting in some of those songs to get some of the New Age ideas out of there and all, but basically they stood once we became Christians. They were pretty doctrinally sound. But the point I'm making is, to answer your question, is no, we didn't sit there and think of how we can devise a new kind of gospel music, because we didn't know we were going to get saved at Calvary Chapel or any of that yet. And we never heard anything like it. But there was no ever any thought of let's create a new genre of music. In fact, when people first called our music gospel, I said, it's not gospel. Gospel is black people with tambourines or white people playing country type music. We're rocking guys, And then they'd tell us, well, you have a ministry. And I go, ministry? No, you go to Bible school for that, All that was foreign to me. So there was no guile. We didn't contrive anything, It wasn't we were trying to we were writing music that we loved about the thing that was happening in our life right now. And it's as simple as it was. We had an invitation to play at after hours in a regular nightclub. We do our set and we just blast them with the gospel, right? So at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they're still half of them drunk, even though they can't buy a drink. And so we think, well, let's give them our best shot because they're never going to have us back. And so we finish our set and played about an hour, and we left. And about Wednesday, the guy calls up. Can you guys come back? People loved you. It was great. So we went back and we played a number of times until the word got out at Calvary, and all the young Calvary guys are coming down at 2 o'clock to hear the group after hours. And we thought, you know what? There's a point where you wonder if you're doing more good or harm with your appearance at some place, your presence. And we're drawing these kids down into this environment that could lead them into darker things. And so we figured that the result was not worth, the possibility of speaking positively in someone's life was outweighed by the possible problems we could cause for these young kids. So we stopped playing. But that's about it.
I mean, you guys just had a horrendous touring schedule. Weren't you like playing constantly?
We were so in demand. We had no sense of saying no. If the phone rang, we should play, because God made the phone ring. And so, yeah, after about 3 years of that, we were pretty burned out. First year of that was really, really hard. We were doing our own, bringing our gear in ourselves every concert. Do 2-3 concerts a day. Assembly in the morning, assembly in the afternoon, concert at night for weeks on end. But that wasn't really why we disbanded. At the end of about 3 years we were together, there was a lot of internal, the truth is, regardless of how people perceived us, because we had long hair and people thought, oh, these are the guys of wisdom and sages, looking up to us like we were some kind of gurus. The truth is we were just baby Christians, and there was a lot of bickering going on, and vying for position, and I want my song recorded, and you start to get into all the hassles that a group that's not a Christian gets into. And so finally, at the end of the 3 years, we just had a kind of an amicable meeting together, and we thought, let's just look, let's disband, and then we'll tell the Lord, if this is of you, we'll all be at peace about it, and if it's not of you, we'll come back together and you make us miserable. Everybody will seem to be pretty happy with the decision, so that's what happened. But to our credit, we disbanded at the height of our popularity. We could have gone on for 10 more years with the momentum, but it just seemed to be a quick season, and it was over. Tremendous influence. I never could thank the Lord enough for the amount of influence I think we had in the whole Christian thing, but it was just in for the 3 years and then out. I did my solo thing, and Tommy went on to start the Maranatha Praise Band and all that. So everybody went their merry ways, and now, when I say we never look back, now we're looking back again. There's talk of doing a tour again next year. with the reissuing of all the older material coming out again next year under Calvary Chapel's sponsorship. But now what's coming up is the talk of a real serious tour. We might do a number of dates, which we have not done since we were a band in the 70s, and do even some foreign countries. Love Song never went out of the United States except for Canada a couple of times. So we've never been to Europe, never been to Australia, and we may do something like that. It depends on how much scope comes from this. Because the plan is to re-release everything, do a deluxe box set, and generate new interest and see if there's a place for this to come back and emerge back into the church as some sort of viable presentation that can serve the Lord. And if that, we just feel it's different this time. It seems to be more of a sense of God is really doing something. First of all, significant. Next year is the 40th anniversary of Love Song's setting foot on stage at Calvary Chapel, and just coincidentally is also a biblical generation. So we're looking at that as being very providential, that maybe God has, with the Calvary Chapel Fund. I've been brokering a deal between Calvary Chapel and the guy that owned our catalog for 20 years, and it's never come together. There's phone calls, and then somebody goes on vacation and they drop it, it never comes up again. So this time the deal went through, and there's just such a sense of everything falling into place to do something again that may have a small or maybe a large impact, but something's up this time that's never been up before. And so we're waiting to see the definition of it. But we could actually do a real bona fide, full-blown tour.
Well, I'm kind of curious, Chuck. I was thinking, back in the 70s when you did play so much, we just had a big concert here in town this past Thursday. And as I pulled in, I noticed, all the big tour buses lined up there in a row. How'd you guys get around? I assume you didn't have a...
No. We never did. It was all private car kind of thing, miserable, the worst. Just everybody packed into a car with all the equipment, or a van maybe, and just go on the road to, caravan a little bit, maybe one or two cars. They were fun because we were young and we didn't care, we wanted to serve God. But this time it would be nice to go out, get a nice bus that's all decked out. Some of the folks know that one of my daughters was in ZoeGirl, and they'd always have the pimped out bus. And I go in and I said, "This is how you travel, right? You got your own little compartment here with a TV. How nice,
Well, I have two daughters, and they were excited that I was talking to ZoeGirl's dad tonight.
I know. I got more mileage out of my daughter being in ZoeGirl, and then conversely, she'd come back and she'd say, "Dad, I am so tired. I go in for these interviews, and all they want to do is talk about you." I'll say, "Oh, what's your dad doing? I remember your dad. I listened to his music. He was my first album or whatever, And I say, "Well, it's nice to know you're remembered." But then I go in. The other side of it was I'd go into a concert, and the mother would come in with the young girl, and the young girl would have a ZoeGirl album. They want me to sign it, so I'd sign it, Zoe Dad, Chuck Girard, But yeah, I got a lot of mileage. I got a lot of cred out of that. You'd see these kids out there in my concerts. Their parents dragged them to the concert, and they're sitting out there kind of zoned, and they say, "Oh yeah, my daughter's in ZoeGirl." And so all of a sudden they eyes front and center, and they perk up and they listen for the rest of the concert. So I started to drop that bomb, right after she got into the group. But yeah, it's been a mutual thing. It's been good for both of us.